Welcome to another episode of Eatin with Joe. Today we're continuing our tour of the states and we're headed to Colorado, home of a food so good it was fit for a king. Alright, before we get started on our current mukbang, let's travel down memory lane and see all the places we've already talked about, we've already visited, and the food we've already enjoyed. Or kind of enjoyed, for the most part enjoyed. Our crack intern staff has made up this fantastic wall map, and we're going to use that to track all the places we've been. So, the first place we visited was Alaska, if you recall, and we enjoyed some incredible king crab. Here's our Alaska. Beautiful. Next, we did our first fast food mukbang. We talked about Kansas, home to the greatest fast food restaurant in the world, White Castle. Thank you, Kansas. Next, we went down to Texas for some good old-fashioned barbecue. After that, we checked out Illinois, most specifically Chicago, for some incredible deep dish pizza. Last week, if you recall, we went up to Vermont and checked out their maple syrup. Which brings us to this week. Hi again, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of Eatin with Joe. As I said in the beginning, we're continuing our tour of the states. Today we're talking about a food from Colorado. And it was a food so good it attracted royalty to fly in the middle of the night and enjoy it. Before we get started, please remember, follow me on Twitter. If you like what we're doing here, remember to subscribe. Remember to like us and share us if you think there's anybody out there that would get a kick out of this. And thanks very much for doing that ahead of time. So again, we're talking about food from Colorado. You know, there's a lot of things that Colorado is famous for. Things like the back bowls of Vail, rafting down the Arkansas River, concerts at Red Rocks, Steamboat Springs Hot Springs, Mesa Verde, Coors Beer, Rocky Mountain Trout, Bojo's Pizza, and roasted chili peppers. But nothing, and I mean nothing, has a backstory quite like the Fool's Gold Loaf. The Fool's Gold Loaf was invented by one of the chefs from a restaurant called the Colorado Mine Company back in Glendale, Colorado. Glendale is a really, really small town completely surrounded by the city of Denver. When the Fool's Gold Loaf was invented, we're not sure. But when it became famous, we definitely are sure. The story goes like this. Back in 1976, Elvis was hanging out at Graceland, and with him were a couple of security officers that were actually ex-Denver policemen. Well, the three of them got to talking, and the two policemen from Denver talked about this thing called the Fool's Gold Loaf. They explained what it was, and that's all that Elvis needed to hear. The three of them got on his private jet in the middle of the night, flew all the way from Memphis to the Denver airport, went up into a private hangar. They called the Colorado Mine Company. The two owners of the Colorado Mine Company actually went down in the middle of the night along with their chef, created a bunch of sandwiches, brought them out to the hangar so Elvis and everybody could eat them that night. They spent like 3 hours at the hangar eating sandwiches, drinking champagne and sparkling water. And then when they were done, they thanked their hosts and flew back to Memphis, arriving somewhere in the early morning. That's something that only a king could do. Fly 3 hours in the middle of the night just to get a sandwich. What makes a sandwich so good? I don't know. It's a combination of some very simple ingredients, so you tell me if it sounds good to you. First, we start off with 1 loaf of Italian white bread. It's got to be Italian white bread. You slather that with 2 tablespoons of butter. Pop it in the oven for about 10 minutes at 350 degrees to get it nice and golden brown on the outside. Hollow out the middle. Slather on 1 10-ounce jar of smooth peanut butter. Another 10-ounce jar of blueberry preserves. Now, some recipes call for grape jelly, but the original Fool's Gold Loaf had blueberry preserves, so that's what we used. And then the most important ingredient is 1 pound of lean bacon. I'm not so sure Elvis wanted lean bacon, but that's what they made it with, so that's what we're going with. You cut it up into slices and serve as you see fit. Now, keep in mind, each of these sandwiches with all those ingredients is about 8,000 calories. It is not made for one person to eat in one sitting. So please keep that in mind when you start to make one for your own. And here it is in front of us. Let's try this out. I've never had one, so let's see what all the fuss is about. Look at that. Look at that. 8,000 calories in a whole loaf. Spoiler alert, I am not going to eat this whole thing. That's fantastic. I don't know what it is. Is it the peanut butter bacon? Personally, I think it's the jelly. Add a little sweetness at the end, because otherwise it's really salty. Well, it's that time. Time to enjoy the mukbang. And while you watch me enjoy this beautiful Fool's Gold loaf, let's reflect back at all the #1 hits that Elvis had. A little mood music for our meal. Question of the week. Put your answer below and you might be in the running for a free autographed picture of Elvis. Now, to be clear, Elvis won't autograph the picture. I will. But still, it's an autographed picture of Elvis. So the question of the week is, what food is so good that it would make you fly in the middle of the night to go get? Put your answers in the comments below or look for me on Twitter. #Denver, #Fool's Gold Loaf. Write your answer on Twitter, send it to me. The best answer is going to be put into a drawing to win that autographed picture. How about some more mood music? that's it for this edition of Eatin' with Joe. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something about American royalty. If you ever come across any of these kind of hidden gems in each state and want me to feature it on Eatin' with Joe, again, please find me on Twitter or put your ideas in the comments below, and we'll do everything we can to incorporate that into our series. So thanks again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And until next time, rock and roll. All right, to put a cap on this thing, we have the map update showing Colorado. We're putting up a picture of 1976 Elvis. All right, there we are. We are fully up to date. We're gonna have more mukbangs for you in the future. Check out our new video dropping next weekend. Thanks very much for following us, and have a great week.